Are you struggling to sell your photo prints, or maybe you're just not making as much money as you think you deserve? Well, you're in the right place because I've compiled a list of things that I've been learning over the past 10 or so years selling prints. And if you follow these tips, I can almost guarantee you will make more money this year selling prints. So grab a pen and a piece of paper and let's get right into this list. My first tip is to niche down, and that essentially means figure out who you're trying to sell your prints to. If your goal is to sell prints to everybody in the whole world, you're gonna fail, and you're gonna fail hard, and you're not gonna make any money. Start to narrow that window down, just like a zoom lens, like you're zooming in on your market. Figure out who your market is. Do you wanna sell your landscape and your lake photography prints to someone that lives, let's say, in a log cabin that would buy a huge 36 by 24 print of a lake and some beautiful pine trees? Now, a fatal flaw that I'm seeing a lot of on Twitter and Instagram is photographers trying to sell their prints to other photographers who are also trying to sell their prints to other photographers who are trying to sell prints to other photographers. You see where I'm going with this? You can't have your main market be other photographers. Other photographers may buy 10, $20, $30 worth of your prints, but that's it. You can't make a living selling your prints to other photographers. Who are you shooting for? Who are your prints for? And who are you trying to sell your prints to? Tip number 2 is gallery sales. My first print sold in a gallery, and galleries are really easy to get into, especially if you live in a little town or a big town. Lots of small local libraries have little art shows every now and then. Sometimes there are little museums in your town. Or if you live in a big town like New York City, you may have to pay a little bit to get into an exhibit, but art galleries are a great way to get your work physically in front of somebody. That's so much different having a print right in front of your face. That is huge. That's one step closer to having someone have that print in their hand and take it home with them. That is your goal, is to put that print right in front of somebody so it makes it even easier for them to buy. I've never had a gallery print go for less than $100, even if it wasn't framed. And there are galleries out there that are free because they're bringing business into, say, a library or a small museum. So you just have to do your research, but get your art into a gallery ASAP. Tip number 3 is to shoot to print. Now, that can mean a lot of things, and it really depends on your style. Maybe you're a very loose run and gun shooter, and sometimes your prints are a little bit blurry or don't turn out so well. Maybe that means using a tripod so you're getting tack sharp landscape prints every single time. Always be thinking about, what is my final print gonna look like? Maybe that means taking some bracketed exposures so that when you print out your final image, you're making sure you're getting all those details in your shadows, your highlights, the best representation of what you actually saw with your eyes. Always be thinking about that final print when you're actually out there behind the shutter button. My next tip is to upsell. And what upsell means is maybe not just selling a flimsy little photo paper 8x10 of your actual print. Think about frames, think about mounting and matting and all sorts of other options that can make you an extra couple bucks with your print. Now, that's something that potentially costs you a little bit more money unless you're going through a photo print site that's doing all of this and selling it for you. But think about maybe a nice $50 frame that goes with your $5 piece of paper, and in turn you can sell that now for $150 instead of maybe $50. So thinking about upselling and multiplying your investment to eventually multiply that profit on the back end. So be sure to upsell your prints. Now, tip number 5 is really important, and it's a Latin word called in situ, which essentially means on site or on location. And if you Google this phrase or this word with prints or photo or canvas, you'll see a lot of composites where a company or a person took their print and they composited it in another photo of, let's say, a nice fireplace with a giant print on the wall, or a log cabin, like I mentioned earlier, with a print of a nice lake or pine trees on the wall. This is a really cool technique to essentially make your viewer or your audience or your potential print buyer feel like their print is in their home. Now you can go online and it's super easy to download some free or royalty-free in situ imagery. Sometimes it's just a photo of a living room or a dining room or a large gallery, and you can composite your own photos into these other photos and put them in a gallery so your audience or your potential print buyer can say, hey, this is what this print looks like in person. And it's kind of like being in a gallery. They're one step closer to buying that print and having that print in their hand, and they can see what it actually looks like on a wall instead of just being a flat light-based image on their computer screen or their phone screen. Tip number 6 is to focus on repeat clients. I can't tell you how many clients I've had buy a $300 print, and then a couple months later they buy a $400 print, and then a few months later they come back and they buy a $500 print as a gift for someone, and then that someone buys another $100 print. Once you've sold somebody, that doesn't mean you have to stop selling to them. Now, I don't mean knocking down the doors of your past clients and repeatedly asking them if they want to buy more of your work, but that means being very respectful and having great customer service with the clients that you've already sold prints to. And remember, like I said, upselling is a great way to get a couple extra dollars and make sure that you're showing your photography and your prints in the best possible light, and pun absolutely intended, which means every time someone sees that awesome print in someone's house, that person's going to get a compliment about your photo. They're going to recommend people to you. They're probably going to come back to you. So never forget about your clients. Repeat business is where a lot of my business comes from. And tip number 7, right along with tip number 6, is remember those referrals. Ask people to kindly refer you to someone else that they might know that needs prints. And if you have great customer service and you work well with other people, referrals are going to be easy, and you're going to make lots of money off of friends of friends of friends that see a print in their friend's house and they just absolutely love how sharp it is, how well framed it is. Never forget about those referrals because they do so much more than just you marketing to someone else. A referral is like a close friend doing marketing to another close friend, and it's way better than you actually trying to market or advertise to someone else. A friend telling another friend how good your product is a great way to make a lot more sales on your prints. Tip number 8, and a lot of photographers don't do this, and I've had photographers come to me and they've asked, hey, how do I make more money selling prints? And I go, okay, the first thing I want to do is see your portfolio. And they say, well, I don't have a portfolio. Well, that is a huge mistake. If someone comes up to you on the street, they bump into you, you say, hey, I'm a photographer, you have to give them an elevator pitch in 10 seconds, what you do. If they can't see your work in 10 seconds, they're no longer interested. That's one of the first things, and you need to do that today if you don't have any sort of portfolio. Now, I'm not talking about Instagram. I'm talking about a dedicated portfolio site to you and your work, and an image that you can quickly pop up on a phone or a laptop and say, hey, this is my work. Would you like to buy my work? And that's so much better than popping up a lame little low-res photo on Instagram or even Twitter. So the first thing, do it today. Get a portfolio website or a place to host your portfolio in high resolution. Number 9 is pretty simple. Make prints that sell. Now, this might hurt a lot of people, but you have to think about if you're not selling prints, maybe that means that somebody doesn't want to buy your print. Now, what does that mean? It doesn't mean you're a bad photographer. It doesn't mean that you don't have skill, but it might mean that you're not taking photos that people actually want to buy and people want to hang on their wall. You have to think about that when you're selling prints. Does someone want to take my print, spend a lot of money on it, and hang it on their wall for a lot of people to see? That's a realistic question you have to sit down with yourself and ask. Maybe ask some friends, maybe ask some family or your neighbor. Would you buy this print? Not trying to sell it to them, but actually, would they buy this? Would they spend money on this photograph that you took? To sell a print, you don't have to sell out, but you do have to make something that other people are willing to buy and spend money on. Now, that is really hard to think about and to sit back and distance yourself from your own work and judge your own imagery, but it's something that's going to be crucial if you actually want to make money selling your prints. Now, the last thing on the list, number 10, you have to have a good, secure way online of selling your prints. Now that is in addition to your portfolio. Maybe that means someone can come to your portfolio, click on an image and add it to their cart, where you will later then print it out and ship it to them. Or maybe you use another online store like Fine Art America, or there are dozens of other places online where you can upload a high-res print and they will handle all of the sales for you. You just have to market your actual print page and your actual prints and drive people to that website. And an online store run by a bigger company is great because it means you're not taking funds out of your pocket to actually print, mount, frame, and display photos anywhere. They're all online. The company handles everything. They buy the ink, they fix the printers, they store the paper, all of that. You just get your commission cap on top of that, and usually minus a small fee for them selling your work, but it's not usually worth the hassle to have to buy a printer, maintain it, clean it, pay for the ink, all the things that can go wrong with that. You need an online place where people can purchase your imagery. Again, even if you're selling in a gallery, one person can buy that print. What if two people want to buy that print? You need an option where someone can instantly buy your print. Again, this all comes down to, if I were to summarize this entire list, making it as easy as possible for a potential buyer to buy your print. A lot of photographers are getting in the way of their own print sales, and they're being their own roadblocks. Like, if I don't have a place I can buy your prints, that was your fault as a photographer, and you need to fix that. I, as a print buyer, shouldn't have to come hunt you down to try and find your photos. You should give me an easy path to buy your prints. So I hope you enjoyed that list. I hope you took some notes. And if you did find this list helpful, hit that like button down below. Make sure you subscribe for more of my photography tips, tricks, and hacks videos. Be sure to retweet this video, share it with a friend that might be trying to sell their own prints and struggling. But that's all for this video. Hope you enjoyed it. And until next weekend, get out and go shoot.